A 16 seed has never beaten a 1 in the NCAA tournament. And again, a reminder, we're coming to you from the O'Reilly Auto Parts studio. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every single day. Again, a 16 seed has never beaten a 1 in the NCAA tournament. Texas Southern will attempt to change that today. Texas Southern will take on North Carolina, 4 o'clock Eastern time in Greenville, South Carolina. And the head coach of Texas Southern joins CBS Sports Radio now. He is Mike Davis. And, Coach, describe the feelings you have right now waking up this morning.
Well, excited, just ready for the game to get started. Seems like the day is taking a long time. When you wake up at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, I guess the days are longer.
Interesting stuff, Coach. I know the long days really get to you, but at what point does it feel like right now that you're actually going to play North Carolina? I know right now it probably seems like a dream, but at what point do you think that'll kick in?
Well, it's already kicked in for me. I've been watching film all night and just trying to figure out a game plan to see what we can really take advantage of. And there's nothing that you really can take advantage of with this basketball team. They're really fast, they're long, athletic. They pound you on the glass, both out of transition, post up, and offensive rebounds. So just going to be a good game for us because we prepared ourselves playing Arizona and Baylor and Louisville and all those teams in non-conference, but we hadn't seen that type of competition for a while. So hopefully, unlike a couple of years ago, we played Arizona. We had a 15 seed. It took us to the second half before we adjusted. And if we can adjust quicker in this game, it should be a good opportunity for us.
Now, you were a part of one of the great upsets in NCAA tournament history when you were at Indiana and you beat Duke at Rupp Arena in 2002. How much has that experience helped you prepare for days like today?
Well, it helped me a lot because, like I said, we started in November playing a really tough schedule. I think some people think that we play our tough schedule to raise money, but that's not true at all. We play the tough schedule because we have goals, and you have to understand and realize if your goal is for real. And when you go play those teams in non-conference, can you achieve those goals? Can you play at the same intensity and level throughout your conference season that you play against those teams to get better? Because at this time of the year, everybody's playing really good basketball. And I thought that we had some really good games throughout our conference, but we didn't have enough to be able to sustain the type of team that we would see today.
Well, North Carolina is obviously a team that a lot of people think could win the national championship. You can't simulate so many things when you're going up against a team of this ilk. What's the biggest thing that concerns you about the Tar Heels as you watch them on film?
Just offensive rebounds. We gave up 27 offensive rebounds to one of our conference teams, and they're nowhere near North Carolina. So it's going to be a challenge for us, and we have to really challenge ourselves to all five guys have got to rebound the basketball. We can't worry about getting out in transitions because we're a running team as well. Our guys love to push the ball up the court. We have a little point guard, 5'7", who I think is one of the fastest guys in the country with the ball in his hands. But against North Carolina, he's going to have to go and try to get 4 or 5 or 6 rebounds today. And if we don't do that, then they'll just continue to miss, shoot, and when they make the shot and miss the shot, they have opportunity because they rebound 40% of their missed shots. And so we got to really do a good job on the glass.
Mike Davis, head coach of Texas Southern, joining Jon Rothstein here, sitting in for Tiki and Tierney on CBS Sports Radio. Texas Southern, North Carolina, later today in Tulsa. Excuse me, not Tulsa. In Greenville, South Carolina. That's what happens, Coach, when you don't sleep during the month of March. In Greenville, South Carolina, round of 64. Some coaches will just tell that they're a team that this is another game. We have to approach it the same. But you and your team have a chance to do something today that has never been done, to be a 16 seed that's beaten a 1. How much have you looked at that narrative and talked about that with your team as you prepare them for battle today?
Well, we talked about it again. We talked about it from day one. As I said before, we went and played Texas Arlington in the first game of the season on Saturday night. We woke up Sunday morning, flew to Delaware, played the very next day. That was a challenge. That was one of the steps that we wanted to take to see, how tough we are and how focused that we could be the very next day. And then we went and played LSU on a Saturday night, and drove the bus 6 hours over to Fort Worth, got up and played TCU the very next day at 5 o'clock, less than 24 hours. and then we turned around and we played Baylor 2 days later, and then before that we played Louisville and Arizona. So our whole schedule was to build to get us to this point. We wanted to make sure that when we got to this point that we seen great competition. I think Louisville and Baylor may be a 2 seed, Arizona it may be a 2 seed, and one of them is a 3 seed. So we played 3 teams in our schedule. There's two seeds and a 3 seed, and one of them could have easily been both could have easily been a 1 seed if they would continue to win throughout the season. So our preparation for this was back in November, December. The problem that you have is getting your guys to practice and play at that level throughout the conference because, we went 16-2 in our conference and we lost 2 road games that we shouldn't have lost. But sometimes you can't sustain that level of focus because you hadn't seen that team in a long time. But we've seen North Carolina before by playing Arizona and Baylor and Louisville.
It's interesting. One thing that I think you have is a unique perspective because you have a scenario where you were at the highest level of college basketball in Indiana, and now you've seen what it's like at a low major. How has your perspective changed going through all the experiences that you've went through as you've had really the exposure to so many different angles of being a Division I head coach?
Well, the one great thing about being in Indiana first was that we played a great schedule. And when you look back at my schedule in Indiana, I played one of the top schedules in the country year in and year out. I think one year I may have had number 1 schedule in the country a couple of years in top 10 for sure. So my bye games, my non-conference games was normally Kentucky, Louisville, and UConn and teams like that. Ball State when it was really, really good, Notre Dame. So I'm used to the competition. I love the competition. I love playing those type of games. And that has really carried over throughout my coaching career. I love playing great teams or really good teams in non-conference. I don't see any advantage of playing a weaker schedule against 4 or 5 teams like that. And so by me being there, coaching that way, I understand the effort that you have to give and the alertness that you need every single day. Now, getting our guys to understand that sometimes is a challenge, but when they're playing against the great teams, they can see it for themselves and they can make an adjustment. And so that's the part of it about being in Indiana that really helped me for scheduling my schedule and understand what it's going to take to win at this level.
Texas Southern head coach Mike Davis joining Jon Rothstein here on Tiki and Tierney on CBS Sports Radio. Texas Southern will do battle with North Carolina later today in Greenville, South Carolina. And, Mike, we would be remiss if we did not get your take on the situation at your former employer, Indiana. Obviously, Tom Crean no longer the head coach yesterday. For those who don't understand what it means to be the head basketball coach at Indiana, how would you describe it?
Well, it's like Alabama football. They want you to win, and they want you to win every year. And sometimes it's tough to win every year because you have young kids that don't understand sometimes the magnitude of where they are. And there's no breaks. There's no grace period. You have to come in and focus and play. And I think the thing that hurt Indiana this year more than anything was losing Yogi. Mm-hmm. Yogi was like a 4-year player, and now he's starting for the Dallas Mavericks, but he kept everything together. He was a really, really big key to that basketball team. But it's a great job. It's a great job, and it's one that you have to understand before you walk in there, what's expected.
What are the ancillary parts of that job that maybe people don't know a lot about? Because there's a lot of people who don't want to be able to go to the grocery store and have to talk to 15 people. What is it like beyond basketball to be the head coach at Indiana?
Well, there's no privacy. I mean, I was a nobody, and all of a sudden I was thrust into that position and loved being in that position after looking back at it. But everywhere you go, restaurant, even when you're driving down the interstate, somebody look over and see that it's you, and they'll blow their horn and wave and try to pull you over just to talk to you. So there's really no privacy whatsoever. You can go nowhere in that state without someone walking up to you and talking to you. But I never encountered any bad experience for it when people was one-on-one with me. Everybody was really nice, but you knew the passions they had for the program.
Well, you brought up something once in one of our conversations over the years, and you said it was obviously different because you were somebody who didn't come from Indiana. How important is it for that job for the Hoosiers to have somebody who understands the fabric of that state and that program?
Well, I mean, this is my opinion, and it means nothing in the scope of anything. But they have passion for their players. They take care of their players, and what I mean by take care of them, they are part of that family forever. They provide them with great jobs after they leave. They talk about them, like they're still playing. And so I think it's, to me, for a guy that played there, coaching somewhere, if they can get the opportunity to coach in Indiana, then it would be great for the program.
What's the biggest thing you know about obviously being a head coach now or after Indiana that you didn't know prior to getting the post?
Well, there's a lot of things I didn't know. I was coaching the CBA for a long time, and I coached at Alabama, and I was a restricted earnings coach, and got an opportunity to go to Indiana. And then a couple of years later, I'm the head basketball coach. So I didn't have a clue about a lot of things, but I knew basketball from the standpoint of being a player and a coach. But at that level is deeper than basketball, and your preparation and your recruiting. When I took over the job, I don't think people realized and understood how tough it was for me to recruit, just because no one thought I would be there the very next year from day one. I ended up being there 6 years, but not 1 year did anyone think I was going to be there. So it was very difficult for a parent to trust their kid with me, because they didn't know how long I would be there at Indiana. And so my recruiting wasn't great at all, I didn't think there. I think I had 1 year where maybe I had Josh Smith and those guys, but Josh ended up not coming. I had Robert Vade and DJ White. But the part for me, the recruiting part for me, was very tough because, as I said, a lot of people that I wanted, I couldn't even get involved with them because they just didn't trust how long I would be there. And the cloud was over me the whole time I was there. But now you can go out now and get anybody that you want, because the next coach or the coach they had in there, they knew the stability for them being there was a lot greater than me.
Well, Mike, we appreciate a couple minutes. Great perspective on Indiana, great perspective on being a low major head coach. And congrats again, regardless of what happens today, on another NCAA tournament appearance. You have built a brand at Texas Southern, and you're playing in the NCAA tournament almost every year. So congratulations on a great season, and we appreciate a couple minutes.
Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
We got Mike Davis, the head coach of Texas Southern.